Hello and welcome to the Home Assistant Podcast. My name is Rohan, and as usual, I have my friend Phil. Hey, Phil.
Hey mate, how you going?
Good. And today we are joined with Tsvi. Tsvi, how are you?
Fine. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And as usual, this podcast is sponsored by Home Assistant Cloud by Nabukasa. For a small monthly fee, you'll unlock powerful features like secure, effortless access to your system from anywhere. Your choice of voice assistants, offsite backups, and more. All configurable within the UI and no YAML needed. It also supports the development of Home Assistant, ESP Home, and other open home projects as well. Click on the link in the description to learn more. We'd also like to give a shout out to our Patreon members, including executive producers Benny and Rob. You can support the show and get early access to episodes all in an ad-free feed. To support the show, check out homeassistant.fm and click Patreon in the menu.
Tsvi, it's so cool to have you here. I was just reading your email that you originally sent in, and I think we are just discussing offline here. Like we started with Home Assistant like the 0.3 days, so fair to say you've seen a few releases of Home Assistant, like both Rohan and I. Can you give us a bit of a background on what sort of started your journey into home automation?
Yeah, so I basically I started. I thought about. I've been thinking about it like back since I've been since I've been a teenager. I really like those X10 switches that you can program them, and I figured one day I'm gonna get my house. I want those. I want my wife still kids about the back. I don't remember. I don't recall it. But she says that that back when we were a young couple, so she said that I would say that one day our blinds would open up automatically in the morning. They don't yet. I mean,
You haven't got the you haven't fulfilled that promise yet.
I tried, and the automation isn't working correctly. Obviously, but yeah. So about 8-9 years ago, when we got our house, so I decided I need to start experimenting with home automation. In the local forums, they were talking about the Vera Hub, the Z-Wave, and so I got one of those with some sensors and some switches. It's like together with all of the renovations we did to the house. So one of the main points was, first of all, we get some automation in here, and I tried doing some automations, but the GUI was very limited. I felt like it wasn't clicking for me. So I started looking up online, and I found I think it was one of the first versions of Home Assistant that had the Vera integration. So I decided to get I decided to get it to get that installed, and well, it's been managing my home since ever since. Yeah, so somewhere in 0.2 or 3, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And if I remember, in those early releases, those were you have to install it using virtual environment and all of those, because even Docker came out, I mean, relatively not that long ago.
Right. So I never actually went the Docker route. I started off with the virtual environment. It actually ran for a long period of time. It ran on my EPC, like one of these like these netbooks. So my whole home was based off this old EPC, and then at a certain point, the 386 that wasn't supported anymore. Now it's completely dead with the latest release. So so at a certain point, I had to move on. So I moved on to stronger computers. I had a Raspberry Pi at a certain point, and now I'm with one of these cheap Chinese NUCs, so like it's a knockoff. It's not the real. Yeah, but it does a nice job. It's more than enough power.
I'm surprised you had an EPC that was working for this many years. We because those are the Asus tiny little ones. I remember my dad had one years ago, and I used to work for like at this retail kind of, or well, wholesale kind of store, right? Like think Costco, but not. Uh, and they were shutting down, whatever. And I got some on sale. I must have still been in university at the time, and I think it was a great machine. It lasted a few years, and then it didn't, right? So I'm very shocked that yours lasted as long as it did.
Yeah, I kind of have a trouble throwing away hardware. You know, I have a whole pile of junk in my workroom, and my wife wants me to get rid of it. And yeah, but this still works, you know. But nobody
Yeah.
uses a
Yeah.
PS2 connection to a PC.
You know what? Despite ours not working, my dad gave it to me, and he was like, "Listen, if you can fix this at some point, cool. You can use it for whatever." So I had it in my, I don't know, like a milk crate of junk that came from my parents, right? That I get to fix, and I think it was last year that I ended up e-wasting it, being like, It's been like 10 years. I'm not touching this, right? And so yeah, but yeah, wow, that one really takes me back. The Asus EPC. That's awesome. So now you're running it on a Nook, you said. Um, are you doing Home Assistant OS, or are you doing your own OS with? Okay.
At a certain point, I had I had all these customizations and for the operating system, and dealing with managing the operating system together with the Home Assistant became a pain. So I just decided so now if I'm installing something, it has to be a Home Assistant add-on. It has to work through the Home Assistant OS. I don't have the time for the extra fidgeting with the operating system. Yeah.
You basically become a sysadmin for your home as well, right? Like it's better to let the community, like there's people out there that are doing that for you, essentially, right? At this point.
Yeah, I did that back when I was a student. I was part of the sysadmin of the college campus where I was studying. So I was a junior sysadmin, and I mean that's where I learned about Linux, and that's where I learned about a lot of the stuff that I know now. But shit, I don't want to imagine my own.
No.
No, that's interesting. It's yeah, again, that's where you learn a lot and tinker and all that stuff, and then you get to a certain point where I think even from a home perspective, you're like, okay, maybe I have all the stuff that I play with, but I just want this one part to work all the time, right, consistently, and especially as families interact with it and stuff like that, it becomes more critical, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Same goes for sensors. Same goes for the switches and you play around with the ESP home and then you say, "Oh, I just want it to work."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a good question then. What's your sort of philosophy on what sort of like protocols or devices have you got around the house? Have you decided to stick with just Zigbee, or have you decided to do a bit of everything?
So at this point, I have a bit of everything. At a certain point, so I started off with Z-Wave, that was stable, and it's been quite stable. And the Vera Edge is still the device that still powers about half of my house. So it's still there. I mean, it doesn't do much. It's just a hub, and then and it's just a pain to repair everything and then at a certain point, I saw that Zigbee started coming along nicely, and it became cheaper. So it was quite cheap, and came along nicely. So I started having some Zigbee stuff, and then I had to upgrade the Wi-Fi in my home. So I have some of all. I basically have the only thing I didn't really have is BLE. So it's
Okay.
as long as it works, as long as it's stable. I don't, and that's one of the beauties of the Home Assistant. Yeah, I don't really care what protocol it works or it works. It's connected. I can trigger something from Zigbee to Z-Wave back to Wi-Fi, and then send a
Yeah.
notification to my phone, and everything's fine.
Yeah, that's fair. One of the things you talked about as well is, some of the Python work you were doing with Home Assistant. I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
when I started off, as an Orthodox Jew, so one of the main point, one of the most important parts of home automation is the fact that you can't have any activities on the Sabbath. So on the Sabbath and the holy days, you can't have your actual being in the room trigger any automation, or so I can't have the lights turn on because I went into the room. It has to be something that goes based on it has to be time triggered, or it can't be something that I trigger. And
Okay.
and for that, one of the most important parts of any automation was that I needed some way to automatically tell it on certain days at certain times you can't work, or you can work, but you can work only based on the time trigger. So only at 9 a.m. or at whatever time it is. And so I started off with I found the Python library that it was basically a port from C that somebody did for the Jewish calendar. I integrated that using, I think it was the app daemon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I integrated that, and it worked nicely. It did the job. And at a certain point, I figured, instead of me having all the fun, I maybe make this a serious integration, make this part of the Home Assistant ecosystem. So, and that's how I created the Jewish calendar integration for Home Assistant. And
Interesting.
it's been a long ride, a lot of bugs, a lot of late
Yeah.
nights, and user requests, and things don't work exactly like you expect it to work, and suddenly other people come in with all kinds of ideas. But by now, I think the most important sensor still is the Jewish calendar integration provides is the binary sensor. It's a binary sensor which says if you are allowed to have an automation run or not. As it's called the Isul Melacha is in effect. So basically, whether you're Isul Melacha means you're not allowed to have any activities. So and it's the most important one. So I try to keep it to keep it working whenever I touch the integration, whenever I do anything
Yeah.
with it.
So how did you find that process of building an integration? And I know a lot of it's evolved from, way back when to today. It sounded like you did this fairly early on, because you talked about even using AppDaemon and those kind of tools, which then you ported over to a proper Home Assistant integration. What was that process like? Like, as someone who hasn't done that before, because one of the things that we always hear as a barrier is like, hey, it's really hard to build an integration. It's really hard to get an integration into Home Assistant, which, again, I don't know if it's hard to build it or if it's hard to get it through the system, right? Just because of all the quality checks and all of that stuff. So what was your experience with a lot of that, Svi?
Yeah. So most of the I came actually before the quality checks were in place. So,
Squeaked it right
so
in there. There you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
that it's a big advantage. One of the things that every time I take when I add something, and then suddenly I see, somebody came in and just changed some bit because they have some, I don't know, there's a new class that was created for something, or consts were renamed to enums or stuff like that, and I didn't have to take care of for the beauty of open source. I just put it in there. It's part of the project, and somebody goes over all the integrations and renames whatever, and it's amazing in those terms. But yeah, at first it was hard to grasp the concepts of the entities, the platforms, the components, like what is talking to what, and who's talking to. That was also before they had the Greek migration, where every integration was moved to its own directory.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, so at first, at first it was quite daunting. It was was quite complex, and then with the Great Migration, I some kind of lost track of how things are working, and I think the most complicated part now is to understand that things are happening kind of automatically.
Right.
Like the whole import system, the whole way that the integrations are imported, and you have these names of specific methods that you need to figure out which one they are, which ones they are. Not all of them are documented. I mean, you do some grepping in the repository, you check for other similar integrations, find and then you figure out, oh yeah, there's something that's calling a method that's named some way. If it's named this way, it will be called at a certain stage in the life cycle of the integration. I think that's the most complex part and the most daunting part, because it's not always very clear. But at this stage, yeah, okay, I have been doing this for 7-8 years now, so suddenly it becomes a second nature, and still I struggle now. I'm trying to get it. They have the new quality checks that they put in. So I actually just managed to get the integration up to, I think it was gold or silver or whatever it was,
Hey,
and
that's
and then
awesome.
and then everything got reset, because I have to repass all the quality checks.
Oh, that's
It
right.
was
That's right.
like a couple of weeks later, I was actually talking to, I think Yost is his name, the
Yep.
guy who does the, yeah. So he actually super guy. He's been helping a lot with the, uh, uh, like all of the guys. It's incredible, the community, the
Yeah.
how, like the I've actually learned a lot about Python, about open source, about most of my knowledge in my day-to-day work comes from, so, like, a lot of it comes in with Python, comes from contributing to a Home Assistant.
Because it's an absolutely like fantastic way to learn, right? Like if Python's not like if there's open source projects and the community being so open, just raise a pull request and get feedback, right?
Yeah, I mean, I learned about pre-commits. I learned about all kinds of about rough and about black, and all linter tools and packaging, and so much stuff that I know nowadays is thanks to this involvement with Home Assistant. I needed to package my first package. I needed to have a third-party
Mm.
library.
How much maintenance do you like provide to your integration? Like, are you updating it every release? Like, or is it pretty much okay? It's standard integration. It's not going to change much. So I can leave it for a year and not have to touch it.
It, it depends. I've had a few years where where I was very quiet. I was quite busy at home. I didn't have the time for it. Actually, there were a few very annoying bugs. It took me quite a while to get the GUI set up. Like instead of the YAML configuration, moving
Yes,
into
that's right.
so. I think I had pull request open for 3 years or something like that. Like it was one, and then I closed it and I reopened it. Like so I had a few years where it was kind of dry. I wasn't really doing anything. Lately, I've been pushing quite a lot of things that were so. Once I had a few of the major bugs out of the way. There was one bug where if you would, I think it was, I don't remember exactly what was the scenario, but basically it would recreate those entities again with the _2 and _3 and _4. and you had to delete all, and then people started complaining because they had to redo their automations.
Yeah, of course.
So, and that was for that went along for a couple of years, so until I got the time to get around that one. And but now I've been pushing quite a lot of content. I mean, every few months, I push out some new stuff. I have a lot of stuff that I still want to push into it, but I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's time, right? Like,
Yeah, it's
and
time,
it's not,
exactly.
it's something you do in your spare time, and you've got to get enjoyment out of it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing like a lot of the features you're putting in, you found like you'd need that in your home, right? Like you've got, oh yeah, that would be cool if I could do it this way. I can add that as a feature.
Yeah.
And rather than keeping that to yourself, you can give it back to the whole community.
Or people contacting me. Some I get quite a lot of requests over time, and unfortunately I tell them that I have to close those pull requests, because pull requests are not mentioned, and those issues for they're not they're not used for features, and I basically tell them I reopen them on the third party library, so
Right. So you can track them.
Right.
Yeah.
so I can track them. And then so it depends on how complex it is, how much time I have. I try and figure out which one of those that I'm gonna work on. I was planning on pushing actually some changes, which at the end I didn't. So one of the things, since I've been there since the early times, so that was before we actually had a calendar entity. And a lot of so all of the sensors are basically, this event will happen at a certain point in time. Okay, so it's very useful because you can trigger on the time, that you can have a timestamp trigger, at a certain time, or given the offset of that time. But it's complicated because a lot of times I want to know for 1 month ahead. I want to know what times something will happen, or what days are holidays in the future 3 months. And that becomes quite complex. So I've been wanting to put that in. And another big request that people have been asking is to be able to use the Jewish date, the Hebrew date, as for their personal events. So a lot of people use the Hebrew date for their birthdays, for anniversaries, so they want to use those dates. And it's not. I mean, I've been talking to Alan Porter. I think it was the guy who's
Yep.
working on the calendar integration. So I talked to him about a half a year ago, and basically what I hope to be able to push is to have a kind of plug in into the local calendar. So make it part of the local calendar integration. So obviously he doesn't want to pull in my whole library just for that support. But on the other hand, the RFC for the calendar for iCal actually does support for other calendars. So you can actually have the Chinese calendar, the Jewish calendar, or any other calendars. You can use those as well for iCal. So
Nice.
we'll probably collaborate on it at some future point when I'll have. So I took the time to talk a little bit, and then other stuff came up. So I figured, I'll push it away. I'll push it for sometime in the future.
Yeah, I guess like big changes like that, they take time, right? Like they've got to, it's a lot of moving parts, and yeah.
Yeah, and here it's even more complex because I have to work with the other third party. So those are two third party libraries that need to work together to actually get the information, and then integrate that as part of the local calendar. So we'll have to see how this works.
If you're looking to upgrade your smart home, you can't go past Zeus. Add Z-Wave long range to your home assistant setup with the Zeus ZST39 USB radio. Their advanced technology operates in dual network mode, combining a reliable mesh system with ultra-fast direct device-to-hub connectivity. And with Z-Wave long-range support, you can get coverage up to 1,300 feet or 400 meters, both indoors and outdoors. And it's extremely secure with unique DSK QR code scanning, which you can now do directly within Home Assistant. The Z-Wave JS integration in Home Assistant enables seamless compatibility with a range of brands, all working together through this secure, private, and standardized off-cloud protocol. But that's just the start. Zeus offer a range of affordable and innovative devices, including water leak sensors, water valve controllers, smart plugs, scene controllers, and even color paddles. The color paddles for their scene controllers, dimmers, and switches allow smart devices to blend seamlessly into your home. For the best prices on all Zeus products, head over to thesmartesthouse.com. That's thesmartesthouse.com.
And so, Svi, I want to get back to kind of your smart home and what you're doing there and all of those kind of things. I'd love to know, again, first and foremost, one of our favorite questions is, what are some of your favorite automations in your home that you're doing?
I mean, it hasn't been working since I moved, since I moved the location of my workroom. But I had this beautiful automation that would turn when I would walk into my workroom every morning. Like the blinds would go up, the lights would turn on, the AC would turn on. Now it was beautifully set up, and but since I'm sharing my workroom with my wife, so I got to move. I got to move to a different room, and now I need to somehow figure out how I get the location of my phone because I need to get the room location within the house. It's obviously.
Oh, so you want to know to which room you're in specifically, as opposed to are you in the kitchen, are you in the office, are you in this office? Yeah.
So in the office, I actually had a access point which was really close, so my phone would always hook up to that access point. So I had a 90%. I mean, it always would hook up once I would move into that room. But now, now I'm at kind of an equal distance of 2 or 3 different access points. So I'm not really. I have to figure out in a different way how to figure out that I'm located in this room. The most useful automation, though, is the one in the so again in the Sabbath, usually in the Sabbath. So a lot of Jewish homes have some kind of automation in terms of turning on or off lights at a given point. So a lot of people will have what they call the Shabbos clock. So it's basically a timer where you set you set the lights at the given point. But since I have multiple switches and every switch I can automate at a given point, so I actually have this gradual turn on, turn off the lights in the evening. So every and one of the things everybody usually needs to take care of is once you move to what's called daylight savings. When you move to daylight savings times, so you obviously need to, if you have a manual clock, you need to turn it on. You need to turn it manually. And every time I see remember to set your clocks, and I say, well, for me it's taken care of. It's automatically based upon the time that the Sabbath starts, based on the time the Sabbath finishes. I don't have to take care of it at all. It's done for me. I haven't needed to change it. But then, obviously, when it does work, and I actually had a case of that this past Saturday. Yesterday, we had such a case where I didn't set the continue on error, so like on the automations. So one of the lights for some reason didn't turn off, and then all the rest would, like, the whole automation stopped. It's
yeah.
It's step by step. It's a gradual process, and once one of them wasn't working, and I can't do anything about it until the end of the Sabbath. So the end of the Sabbath, I go ahead and I go, okay, so what happened 24 hours ago? Why wasn't this working? And
Yeah.
so you need to debug. The debugging comes usually
Yeah,
a day later.
that's interesting.
So now I need to go and upgrade the automations and add continue and error. Actually, I was thinking about what I would really want is to have a way to to say I want this light to turn on, and if it didn't turn on, try again at the later point. Like this is the expected state of this given light, or this is the expected state, and just leave it at that. Continue on. Just turn this one off, and then wait another half an hour or another hour, and then turn the other one off. There is I couldn't really figure out a way to do that. The only thing, I was thinking about it this morning, and the only way I could come up is to create a scene, so the scene would always succeed. I could always turn on a scene, and that would always work, but it still wouldn't try again.
I guess you could have in the automation rules, like you could have it, trigger every 30 minutes and then use the conditions to determine if it needs to run, right? So one of your conditions could be, are all the lights that need to be off? If they're not, okay, I need to run this automation. Is it the time when I should be running this automation? Is it between sunset and sunrise? But then, of course, you're having an automation trigger every 30 minutes that may not necessarily need to be triggered. I know I've certainly run into situations where, like, I've gone through a few Z-Wave iterations, right? Like, I've had a Vera, I've had a few Z-Wave sticks, because I would find that lights just wouldn't be responsive, right? I would turn a light off, but it wouldn't be in the state I wanted to. And I've sort of had, like, I've tried home assistant scripts, right? I would do the light turn off service, and then I'd run another script to say, okay, I just attempted to turn this light off. Here's its entity ID, and I wanted it to be off. And then it would, because I'm executing a script, the automation stops executing, but the script is then running in the background. And then it can have a delay, right? And you can go, okay, I'll wait 30 seconds. Okay, did that light just turn off? No, it hasn't turned off. I will go and turn it off again as part of the script, which is outside of the automation. So I agree. It's fiddly, and I don't think there is an elegant solution to doing it yet.
Yeah.
That and the other one I would really want to see is a forward simulation. So if I could just have have simulate the coming 24 hours, next 48 hours, in double speed or and obviously more than double speed. You would want 24 hours in 12 minutes. Turn on this one, then this turns on, this turns off, I'd give it a few states, like given, let's say the temperature is a given state. Let's say that the light outside, sensors are at given states. That would be, that's basically what I do for a job, for a living, and I'm a verification engineer. So, so we create simulations for hardware.
Yeah, like create a simulation in the house. Right? Okay, temperature's going to be this. Let's run the house for 48 hours, assuming that maybe this room is occupied and this room isn't occupied today.
Exactly. Yeah, that would be amazing if somebody would do that. I don't have the time to do it, but I've been thinking about it for a while.
And it'd also be because that way you can also test. And I guess like Home Assistant has a very a good way of checking is this condition true, false right now in the UI editor, but it doesn't allow you if you're running a simulation, is the temperature, like, are all these conditions true tomorrow midday? Will this automation actually run, or am I going to get what's the error going to be? A way to predict that would actually be pretty handy.
Yeah, especially when you work with the template, with templates, and although you definitely can use the developer tools and the and templates and check. There's always something you forgot about. That you forgot that the state could be a certain way, or this attribute. And you usually need to do it twice or three times until it actually works perfectly.
Yeah. That's interesting. Now, from the other piece, also I'm curious about is how you drive a lot of these automations and doing that piece, right? So, what's your favorite? Like, is everything automation means automated, or which it sounds like a lot you do, you have a lot of, right? But then also voice, tablets, other interfaces.
So I tried the voice. I tried the voice part. I mean, I've got the Google Assistants, like Google Nests, all over the house, but it's not. I mean, it's very annoying that you can't really have a two-way conversation with it. Like you can't have it
Yeah.
prompt you for something, and reply to it. So mostly it's automations. I have a
Mm,
dashboard which needs a lot of work. I mean, it's, it's horrible.
Everyone's dashboard
yeah.
always needs work.
No, I'm a command line guy. So a lot of times, I'm very happy they actually have this new dashboard initiative coming on going on. I really hope that it will come to fruition, to become some nice. Maybe I actually will be able to just throw away my old dashboard.
Use the default one. Yeah.
Yeah, use the default one. But uh, I mean, most of the people in the house actually use. So my wife, my kids, they'll use the dashboard that I created. And the thing is that I usually forget to add, when I add a device, I usually forget to add it to the dashboard. So there are lights which they don't know how to turn on besides the regular switches on the wall.
Yep.
Only I know. If you go to entities and you look up this and this name, so yeah, so then you can
It's
turn off the garden lights, because I never bothered to actually add it to the dashboard.
I've learned really quick that because I've still got a couple of those where it's like, like a couple of sensors and stuff like that, right? That like for example, I have an Apollo air quality sensor in my son's room, and especially when I put it in, I was like, oh, I'm curious what are CO2 levels like and those kind of things, right? Especially when you first get a sensor. I still have a lot of that stuff going, but uh, I don't have a lot of it exposed in the dashboard directly, and it's same thing. And if I want to go do it, I have to go click, click, click integrations into ESP Home into there, and be like, oh, okay, here it is, right? And so that now I'm like, okay, that just goes on the dashboard, because otherwise my wife asks me every time, and it's another thing for me to manage, right?
Yeah, so everything that's been asked multiple times. One of the thing is, do I have hot water? Like, do I have so do we
Mm,
have hot water? So we have it's a hot water boiler which is based off. So it's based off the energy from the sun, and like
yeah.
solar panels. And if it's not hot enough, so I have electricity. So one of the first things I did once when I upgraded that system and they actually have the temperature is to move that to the dashboard. You just open up the app and it's right in front of you. If you do or you don't have enough hot water, and you have a button and you click on it, and in 20 minutes you'll have enough hot water for a shower, because it was the yeah.
And is that like
Yeah.
how's that integrated? Is that like an API or
It's actually an Israeli company that manufactures. It's actually it's a ESP device, which with a temperature, with a thermostat, and it hooks up to the boiler. But it goes according I technically you can't really use most of the Chinese off brands because of regulations, and so I decided to go with, and although I'm really not happy with the fact that it's cloud based. So if I'm not, if it's not local, and then I can't really see the connections or whatever. And their app is horrendous, but it does the job. And since I have it, so I've never had complaints about I don't have any hot water because it actually the thermostat checks the amount of hot water we have, and if necessary, according to amount of people in the house. So there's hot water every time in the morning and evening for a shower. So that's nice. And again, it goes
Yeah.
back to what we started with. It has to work. I know it was more expensive than what a ESP would a DIY solution would work, but would cost. But and it's cloud
Right.
based. It works.
And then any like from a from a cameras and any of that kind of stuff. Are you doing anything on that front? Are you and then which leads to part two of anything around AI, but
So I had a Hikvision NVR, and I basically got rid of that one, and I hooked up the cameras directly to the machine like via the switch directly to the machine that's running Home Assistant, and now I have
right.
Frigate, which is so much so much better. I mean,
Yeah.
Sure.
the software is so much better than what I had with the
Yeah.
back when. First of all, I actually have some extra cameras that weren't hooked up that couldn't be hooked up to the NVR because the NVR only accepted 4 cameras and via Ethernet. And now I have some Wi-Fi cameras that can actually be hooked up to the Frigate device and to the Frigate software. And I tried doing some AI. I mean, it's not. I I have a huge list of open tasks to actually a lot of stuff that I would
Don't we
want to
all?
know. Yeah, a lot of like to figure out who's at the door or stuff like that. I mean, one of those things that I really I've been wanting to do for a long time, to do some image recognition. I mean, it can figure out if there is a person or not, so that's already nice. And now I need to figure out which one. Yeah, and once in a while I'll go and tinker with it and figure out, and then I give up, and then I figure out. So I do something else.
Yeah, I guess yeah, like there's so many different ways now. Like this, I've just got some cameras around my house, and yeah, like there's so many NVR options, right? I'm like, do I go with the brand of cameras and get their NVR? Do I just I've got Ubiquity access point. Like, do I just run the NVR through the Ubiquity software? Do I, use the Synology Surveillance Station, Frigate? Like, there's so many options, right? Which is great. But yeah, then it just becomes decision anxiety. Which one's the right one? Do I go with? Do I want to go down
Yeah,
this rabbit hole and then realize, oh, actually, I've just spent all this time, trying to get,
Yeah.
recognizing, as a delivery driver at my door, and it's the wrong software to use it with, right? Um, yeah.
yeah. The Hikvision was very annoying because you couldn't really. I mean, you can't really fine tune it. I mean, at least the one that I had, it
Mm.
came with the software. It came, and there was no way. It's the same story I had with the Vera Edge. It's you get some closed like some closed software in the from the vendor, and there's no way you can actually tinker with it. You can't upgrade it. You can't do anything to actually make it better, and it's very annoying in that sense. And then when you need to actually pull off the feed from the NVR, and then so you say, so why do I need 2 boxes?
Yes. Yeah.
Why?
Exactly.
So I'll just have everything done in one box and finished.
Yeah.
So, what are your future plans for your smart home? Like, if you're projecting, 5 years forward, what would you want to see your smart home have in the future? I'm guessing opening and closing blinds are in that future somewhere.
Actually, I do have opening. Oh, the first thing I did was after the lights was the blind having in the house were blinds. So nearly all the blinds are automated. I still
Nice.
have like I still have a few lights, mainly the lights that are like that have double switches. So like two switches into the two different sides of the wall, the sides of the room. So I didn't get to automate those. Mainly, I hope to get a nice dashboard with the entrance and the guest mode. That's so when guests come over, the guest room was always out of the automation zone, and lately I actually, again, because you don't want complaints. Wait a minute, how do I set those? How do I turn on those lights? How do I turn down the AC
Yes.
or stuff like that?
Yeah.
But
Sure.
so that's one thing I'd want to get moving, and yes, definitely the recognition of within the rooms. So figuring out who is in what room. That's I mean, it's amazing what you can do once you know who is in a certain room. I get crazy every time I go into a room and somebody left the AC on, or
Yeah.
or
Yep.
the AC is on and the windows are open, and you say,
Sure.
Are you using anything for like identifying room presence at the moment? Like, if you've got like motion sensors or presence sensors in a room at the moment?
so I had these Z-Wave sensors. But they were consuming a lot of battery power.
Yeah, they do.
So one of the main issues that I find is that all of these sensors, I don't like the batteries. Like the batteries get finished. So I try to hook them up to mains power, and then you don't want to have USB cords running around the whole house. So I'm trying to figure out how I could do that one. And again, the problem with those sensors is that I need some way to actually cancel them when like when Sabbath. So the first sensors that I had, I was actually turning them off and on every Friday, and it was a pain. Like you just wait a minute. So so all of the week you're enjoying the fact that that you get the presence information, and then suddenly uh, and also, yes, I mean, back then those were sensors which couldn't give you very accurate information about if a person
Sure.
was still there. Yeah,
Mm.
now you have these millimeter wave sensors, quite expensive still. I mean, the
Yeah.
last I
Yep.
checked, but apparently they're quite good.
Yeah, they're pretty decent. The prices are still very expensive for, when you compare to any other type of sensor, but I think it's getting better, and I think there's more like modern ways of, conserving battery and stuff like that for the battery ones, but most of those are wired anyways, right? Um, I've got one next to me here. I haven't really adjusted it or anything like that. It's just one of the Apollo ones, and again, I need to tune it, but it's I don't know. I like them. They do work very well.
I'm wondering if there is. I know you mentioned just before that you need to disable the sensors or turn them off. For the millimeter wave ones, they generally require power, so you could put them behind a smart switch. I'm not sure if that's um,
Yeah,
good enough.
that's what I actually do with the Google with the some of the Google assistants, because because one of the problems you have, unfortunately, there's no way to by software to turn off the mics, and then
Yes, that's
you're
right.
Right.
you're in the middle of a discussion and you're saying, and you're mentioning Google for some reason, and
Yep.
suddenly you start having music blasting through, and you say,
Yeah.
Mm.
okay, and how can I turn this one off? It's not. Uh,
uh,
so I started turning off those that are in public areas. I basically turned them off with a smart switch. That's one of the, yeah, that actually works.
And I'm guessing another option you could do is Frank has created an integration called Spook. And one of the services that Spook have is the ability to enable or disable entities in Home Assistant. So I guess you could automate that, right? Like if it's going to be the Sabbath or something, and you don't want these entities available for anything in Home Assistant. Just disable them. Like those whole devices then get basically switched off.
Yeah, although I don't know, I disabling entities is always always give it,
That can always introduce other issues, right?
you get
Yeah.
into other issues, but
Yeah.
yeah, I do have it Spook installed, but I don't use it that much. Although sometimes it's actually it's nice. It has its
It's a good thing to have just running in the background, right? Like
Exactly.
you may not, if you've got like an automation that you've had, for a few years and you've just renamed an entity, and Spook will just pop up and go, "Hey, this automation is
Exactly.
now broken."
Yeah.
Um,
All right, perfect. Is there anything else you wanted to cover? I think we kind of got through
yeah.
the gamut of it.
I just want to reiterate how much the community is incredibly rewarding. I mean, every time I get this mail or a thank you, or somebody who's using it for some crazy, using a Jewish calendar for some crazy things. I mean, some people automate the lights in the synagogue with like different lights for different months, and that's
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
it's
nice.
nice. It's nice to know that you actually have an impact somewhere. I mean, my day-to-day job
Sure.
with verification is something which is in the backbone, because it's back burner, because basically I'm checking something which, I mean, nobody will actually see the software that I write. I mean, it's
Right.
I'm checking something that will, to just to make sure there are no bugs in the hardware which gets released. And here I actually get to have an impact, so it's a nice addition to my day-to-day work.
Yeah, I mean, it is a huge, again, the community, and even folks like yourself, Svia, in terms of creating these integrations and whatever, right? And as we do the podcast, we find some that are very, very, very niche, right? And then there's some that are a lot more widely applicable, which it sounds like yours is probably in that latter category, where it's a little more widely applicable. And it and shout out to folks like yourselves that are going out there and saying, hey, I have no idea how to do this thing, let me go figure it out and
Yeah.
throw it up on GitHub, and again, work with some of the core devs and all of those kind of things, right? And work towards making it better too, on beyond just getting it in there.
Mhm.
So yeah, shout out to, again, like I said, Svi, folks like yourself, and yeah, thank you so much for doing those kind of things and keeping the project going, right? So with that said, I think, thank you so much, Svi. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for making the time as well. And all right, we will see you at some point soon.
Thanks, Steve.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.